In this module, we're going to be talking about teamwork. As you noticed in Module 1, we did a brochure / a flyer. And think about what took place in your team. How well did you communicate? How well did everybody get on board right at the beginning? Did I have to intervene to get team members to speak up or get in contact with you? So what took place in Module 1, and see what we can do to fix that in Module 2. So right away in Module 2, the highlights objective is how to learn how to function on a team, how to address common issues. Maybe you've already experienced some. Maybe you've experienced some in the past. Maybe you're sitting there rolling your eyes going, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm doing group work again. I hate group work. And then we'll run into the do's and don'ts on a business email, and then creating a team newsletter for the workplace. Which again, most of the time when you're creating a newsletter, you're waiting on everybody to get you the material to be able to publish it to your coworkers. So this is going to take a chance of learning how to function on a team. And there are a couple documents that I posted. Are you a team player? The Belbin handout, and then teamwork and collaboration presentation. So looking at, are you a team player? It looks like this. I would suggest filling this out. It's probably part of the discussion board that you'll have to do, but it really kind of gives you an idea about where you sit. How flexible are you? How open to new ideas are you? Or do you avoid new ideas? How well do you listen? That's a lot of the issue with teamwork, is how well do you listen? Do you trust others? That's a big problem that most students face because they've been burned one way or another. So their trust is not really out there, and they probably don't trust you. And it's mutual. So how do you get past that? How do you learn how to work together and trust each other? So fill that out. Then the next handout is Belbin's. Okay? They kind of tell you, hey, this is team roles. Where do you fit amongst all the team roles? Are you a shaper? The outgoing member, the dynamic one. They're argumentative. Do you argue your ideas a lot? Are you impatient? No. And how can we use that to our benefit? Implementer, the ones that want to get stuff done. They're the ones that are out there. We're going to work this. The completer finisher. They're task oriented. They want to get their stuff on time. They're going to post everything. They're going to make sure that, they're going to stress. So how do you deal with somebody that stresses? Coordinator. Now, there's got to be a coordinator in the team. They're the ones that set boundaries, make sure that everything falls into place. The implementer makes sure it all gets done. You can see how some of these are starting to work together. The team worker. This is the team-oriented member. They're concerned about how others in the team are managing. Are you doing okay? Are everything going well? How can we help you out? Let's get this going. Listen to them. They're the ones you want to listen to. The resource investigator. That's a strong communicator. They're good at negotiating with people that are even outside the team. They gather information and resources. This is usually where I fall into role, is the resource investigator. Now, I'm out there talking to people, figuring out what's going on. I'm usually the one that negotiates everything. When there's an issue, I bring stuff up that people might not have thought about. First thing I do when we get together as a team at my place of work, believe it or not, we have a task to complete. It's who's taking charge, who's the leader, what are deadlines, what are boundaries, what are expectations, and running with that. So you need to learn how to set all this. If you've worked on a team and never set boundaries and never set expectations, then that's probably some of the issue that you've had and likely to develop that mistrust that you've experienced. And then the plan. They're really great at problem solving. They come up with a solution. And I like to tell students, now if you don't like something, speak up. But if you don't like something, always have a solution behind you that you can work with, or that person can work with when you give them a solution. Just tell them, I don't like this, means nothing. So if I were to tell you, I hate using Blackboard. I don't like how you have Blackboard set up. Okay. what does that mean to you? It means absolutely nothing. Well, on my side, it means absolutely nothing too, because I didn't tell you how I could see you fix it. I just tell you I don't like it. Well, that's great. I'm glad you don't like it. So if you don't like something, it's good to speak up, but always have something behind you that either validates why you don't like it and a solution. How are you going to fix it, or how would you fix it? And then maybe somebody else, like the resource investigator or the team worker, might have other ideas that come into play. And then all of a sudden you have a communication that is open and you're talking through problems and you're working with it. All right, the monitor evaluator, they're the ones unlikely to get aroused during group discussions. They take it as it comes, but they are critical and they analyze things. So watch out for them, but they really think outside the box. They're good to have in your team. And then the specialist, the one that has expert knowledge in that area. Figure out who your specialists are. All of you should say, I'm a specialist, but what are you a specialist in? Are you good with graphic design? Now, some of you have found out your strengths and weaknesses with this last group project. What did you bring to the team? What do you maybe what is your weakness? And run with that. When you see your weakness, go, okay, so who on the team can step in and help this weakness? Because I can step in with my strength and really work with it. I'm really good at graphic design, really good working with templates. I'm really good on proofreading and making sure everything is grammatically correct. I'm really good with making sure everything's formatted right. Think about that when you're looking at stuff and working through this. And again, this will come into play again. Don't think it won't. It will be on the discussion board. And then let's go into the PowerPoint. Okay. Collaboration, working in teams. You have to talk to each other. I don't care how you talk to each other. You have to talk to each other. So, collaboration, the act of working with someone to produce or create something. You're going to be collaborating. It involves writing, communication, and speaking. 3 things you have to do in this class. The one thing that collaboration does not have that is missing on this slide is listening. You have to be able to listen to your teammates. So to be successful, you have to be able to write, communicate, and speak. Not only that, but you have to be able to listen to what other people are saying. To help humanity thrive by enabling all teams to work together effortlessly. That's the definition of team. So teamwork, this is what you're doing. So from my experience, when you were in middle school, maybe even high school, but usually middle school, the teachers lumped you into groups, told you to do a group project. They went, worked at their desk, and you sat there and had to produce some kind of document or fill out a worksheet. So now you're in a group, and we know group work. Not once did they tell you how to function in a group, how groups work together, nothing like that. So you go into high school. By then, a high school teacher expects you to be able to work in a group. That's where your A students will jump in and they'll take over and they'll maybe even do the whole assignment without your input. Are you okay without your input? Because I'm not okay with that. I want to be able to see what the product is and to make sure that when my name's put on it, I agree with it. But in high school, still, we lump you together. We don't think much about it. And now you're out of high school and you're in college. By the time you get to college, we automatically assume you know how to work in a group. But do you? Do you really know the ins and outs of participating and talking with one another and how to talk with one another and all of that? That's an issue. So figure out what's going on in your team. As I like to tell students every semester, teamwork is a bunch of listening and a bunch of speaking. You have to talk about when stuff's going on, and there has to be solution people there. And how you approach somebody and talk to them makes a world of difference. For instance, Johnny is not doing their work, and I am really getting mad. So your first instance is to go up and talk to him and say, why aren't you doing your work? I need you to do your work. We're counting on you. We're waiting on you. You're the last one. I want to get this submitted. I don't care if all of us, we got this far along and I'm just going to submit your work without it. Or submit the work without your stuff in there. Is that fair to him? Did you wait too long to talk to him? Did they have stuff going on you didn't know about? What's really happening? And if you go to them and you have that attitude, they're instantly going to be on the defense. And all of a sudden they're going to be like, well, you know, crap, I couldn't help what was going on in my life. Something took place. You know, it was out of my control. There was nothing I could do about it, and I just could not get to this on time. Okay, so that's the case. Now, if I were to approach you and you were the one having the problem, and I said, hey, I noticed that you haven't turned stuff in and you're not meeting our deadlines or anything like that. What's going on? Is there something we can help you with? Well, yeah, I have such and such that took place. For instance, the tornado last week. I'm still without power. I'm still without internet. And I don't know what to do, but, you know, I'm trying to get on Blackboard on my phone, and it's really hard for me to try to figure all this out on my phone. Can you guys give me a hand? Well, you asking them what the problem was, their response is easier. And I can tell you right now, if you're in a group of 5 people and one person is having a hard time, or maybe 2, and the other 3 are gung-ho and got it and are going through with it, what can you do to help those 2 people out? First thing you can do is ask some questions and listen to them. Really figure out what's going on. Then come up with a solution. If you have to break the work up to get it all done, then break up the work to get it all done. Really go in there and go, you know, I know you're struggling, and, you know, we're going to take your task and we're going to divide it amongst the 3 of us, and we're going to get it done and pitch in. How do you think the person would feel? Thrilled to death? Wow, you know, this is great. I'm in a really good group with people that care about what I'm going through, and next time I'm really going to jump in and do what I got to do, because they're jumping in and helping me out this time. In fact, I'll probably volunteer to take on more of the work because I know they did my share this last time. So it's all in how you approach it and how you talk to people. And most of the time, nobody teaches you any of this. You're on your own. How do we work with this? And by the time that you realize something's taken place, it's usually too late to get involved and figure out what's going on, and you're mad. Don't let the anger and the emotions take over. Keep reasonable, figure out what's going on, and go from there. Now, and last resort, bring in the boss. Hey, I need your help. This person's having a problem. What do I do? So are you a team player? You know, answer those questions, figure it out, see what's going on with you. Now, where do you fit? Are you very much like this, or maybe a little bit? And run with that and see how you calculate up. Team effectiveness, size. The bigger your team, the worse it is. The more miscommunication there can be. So if you can keep your group small, keep it small. If you are in with a group of people, see if you can divide them up into smaller groups, because size makes a difference. Member composition, again, that goes back to Belbin's roles. How does this all work? What are everybody's attitude? What's the expectation? Again, the norms. And how cohesive can you be? Can you really work together? I like this little cartoon. My team has created a very innovative solution, but we're still looking for a problem to go with it. Got the solution, but I don't know what the problem is. Understanding teams. Tepman's 4 stages of teaming. You form, you storm, you norm, and you perform. You have to go through this order. So, forming. What is your project outcome? I usually give you that. That's in usually the instructions. It's in the module. You know what that is. Define team members' responsibilities. Most of the time, this gets skipped. The second one that gets skipped is a project calendar. When are you going to have stuff taking place? Who's going to have what due? You have to have a project calendar because it has to be done before it's due. So you have to have all the parts in before they're due. You can't have everything due on the same day that the project is due, that's where you run into problems. So for the brochure was due today. If you haven't contacted your team members and it's Friday to figure out what's going on, there's a problem. Because now you're expecting all this work to get done on the day that it's due and everybody's ready to turn it in, and you haven't even talked to anybody or worked with anybody, and you've had 3 days, an entire weekend. And if you knew you were going to be busy this weekend, how come you weren't reaching out to team members on Thursday or Friday? Hey, I'm not going to be around this weekend. I need to really, want to give you some input. How can I make this work? Because I don't want to wait till Monday. Never wait until the due date when you're working on a team. You will run into problems. So create a calendar. Okay, we're going to meet on Saturday. We're going to have all our stuff submitted on Sunday. We're going to revise it and look at it, come up with a final copy on Monday, and it's due on Tuesday. Always go further and make sure that you have a game plan on how it's going to work out. Then write it out. This is what everybody agrees to. And then agree on how conflicts will be resolved. If you have conflicts, how are you going to handle them? Again, if you have none of this set up in place, your team might fail. And then running effective meetings. Now, when you run, who is going to be running the meeting? Who sets it up? If it's a Zoom meeting, who is setting up the Zoom meeting? Now, are they when everybody can meet? What are you going to talk about? And what do you want to reach? So you have to have a beginning goal and an end goal in a meeting. Where do we want to end up at the end? And then what's the next meeting going to be? Okay. Storming, managing conflict. It happens. It happens all the time. People don't agree on stuff. How do you take care of it? Well, there are thousands of articles out there on how to negotiate, how to compromise. But is that really the key? The key is talking and listening. What is really happening? Why is there a conflict? Figure it out. Let's get past it. Let's get back to the goal. The goal is to turn in the project. Whether it's a school project, whether it's a project in the workplace, the goal is to turn in a project. Team. Together, everyone achieves more. Now, easier to do. I have teamwork. The first brochure was an introduction to teamwork to see kind of where your weaknesses and strengths were, where you had problems right at the beginning. Then I have a newsletter. Yes, I could assign a newsletter for each one of you to do, but that's a lot of work. That would be over 2,000 words. Well, I don't want you to write 2,000 words, plus take a template, plus do design, plus pick pictures, plus do citations. So I divide it up, because dividing it up makes it a lot easier. But it also makes you work together and figure out, how do we get this done? And this is a team you're going to have throughout the whole entire semester. So get to like one another, because they're going to be there when you don't understand something and you can ask them. Because I would prefer you to ask your team. If the team doesn't know the answer, then yes, you need to come to me to ask it. And once you get past the answer with me, then you share it to the rest of your team. This is what she said to do. But just asking me answer question after question on each single assignment, well, it gets old. And that's why you have a team, is so that you can brainstorm together. And you can kind of sit there and throw out a question and say, hey, what do you think we need to do on this assignment? And see what responses you get. And everybody on the team should respond. If enough people say, I have no clue, then reach out and ask the question to the boss. So building a good team. Make sure you go through this and read each one, because it absolutely is really important that you understand how to build one and what not to do. Okay. Mediating conflicts. Again, you want to make sure everybody's heard. You want to make sure everybody expresses their views. And one person should be the negotiator and learn how to compromise. Steps of mediation. You need to choose a mediator. Identify the issues. Address each one separately. Write down the agreement. Now, hopefully it never comes to this, but you know what? In the workplace, I can't guarantee that. It wouldn't. So keep that in mind. Okay? There's always going to be situations. Of course, personalities are always going to clash. That's just being human. So we have that all the time. The issue is you can't avoid somebody just because you have a personality clash. You still have to work together. Right now, it's a grade, but in the workforce, it's your salary. Are you willing to dump your salary? So you have to think ahead. I have to figure out how to do this team stuff here before I have a salary that is dependent on me figuring this out at this point. So work with it and figure out what you need to do to make it function. All right, the Norman stage. Now, this is, again, good planning, but this is going through all the roles. What are you going to do? How's everybody going to work together? Okay, group roles, again, this Belvin that I covered. Performing. This is when tasks get done. Good planning, effective communication, stuff will get done. So, last slide, what you need to know. Now, they have advantages. Team, I love working on a team. I don't have to do as much work. Now, if I had to do all the work, that's a lot of work. I want to work on a team and divide it up and figure out how to divide and conquer. Let's get this going. So, again, work with a team, figure all this out, set boundaries, set expectations, set deadlines. But go back to this one slide. Foreman slide. Make sure you know exactly what's going on. Make sure you know how you want it to end up. Figure out who has responsibilities, what tasks they have. Again, a project calendar is the utmost importance. And then write out a work plan. Most of all, figure out how you're going to resolve conflicts. So that falls into working as a team. Here you have the schedule for these next 2 weeks. You should have a discussion board check-in. Now make sure that you give me good answers and not one sentences. I need to know what you're gathering, and if you're not gathering the stuff I want you to gather out of these modules. Brainstorm your ideas for the newsletter and assign sections as you start this tomorrow. Figure out where you want to go and where you want to end up. Start doing that one slide. Then you should find 2 sources for your newsletter. Complete the the discussion board activity, the email, and module 2 test. That's by next Monday. And then the following Monday, you have to finalize the newsletter and set it and turn it in. So on the next audio-visual clip, I'll go into each of the assignments and cover those.